Hello everyone and welcome to a sponsored edition of our NEWSMakers podcast, brought to you by Jackson Systems. This is Nick Castora, Products and Education Editor of the News. Today we're sitting down with Mike Lee of Jackson Systems. Mike will discuss the Zone 1 product, how it differs from a standard zone control system, how it works, and much more. Let's get to it. So Mike, can you briefly describe the Zone 1 and what are some of the common applications for this product?
Sure. The Zone 1 that Jackson Systems offers is very simply a damper with a thermostat that allows us to control overheating or overcooling in any space that we need to do so. Common applications for this are retail. As an example, look at a drugstore type of application where you have a large retail space and then an office in the back. Typically, one rooftop unit will control that entire building, and the full cooling load is getting dumped into that office as well, typically very cold in that office. So put a Zone 1 in, problem solved. No longer too cold in that office. Another common application might be restaurants where the diffusers or the registers might be dumping too much cold air or too much warm air, depending upon the season. We can take care of that as well. And then I'd say probably the most common application is office applications where, as an example, a dentist's office. There might be a large exam area in the back that's getting most of the cooling load, but the receptionist sitting out front is absolutely freezing because it's just delivering that air throughout the space. Well, we can put a Zone 1 in there, put the thermostat right next to the receptionist, and everybody's happy because no longer is that cool air continually dumping on her or him. So that's probably the most common applications, but we see it used in dozens upon dozens of different applications where overheating or overcooling is a problem.
Right. And so how does the Zone 1 differ from a standard zone control system?
The Zone 1 is specifically designed to operate as a standalone device. So we're not controlling the unit with the Zone 1. What we're doing is just controlling the airflow in that specific space or that specific zone. So a traditional or standard zone system is going to involve a zone panel that is going to essentially determine which mode of operation the equipment is in. With a Zone 1, we are not doing that whatsoever. We are dealing with or making adjustments to the airflow out of the ductwork without having any control over the system. So in essence, we have to use what's there in the duct to heat or cool the system, or heat or cool the space. So as an example, if there's cooling in the duct and the occupant is calling for heating, we're not going to bring the heat on. We're just not going to allow cooling to come in.
Right.
Right. So that's how it's different from a standard zoning system.
And so what parts would be needed to order and install a Zone 1?
That does depend on whether the need is for a two-position Zone 1 or a modulating Zone 1 or now a pressure-independent Zone 1, which is another product that we have. But to order this, essentially what is needed is just to order for a two-position, it would just be the standard Zone 1, and it all comes as a package and ready to go. And then for the modulating option, you would need to order a zone damper that is modulating. We call that a ZD damper. And then you would need to order the Z2000T thermostat with that particular product. You have to use the proprietary thermostat with the modulating option. And then for the pressure-independent version, which we call it PIZ, that is a new product that essentially is a standard Zone 1 damper, but it also has an air testing station in it so that we can know what the static pressure is in the system And that is, again, a kit that comes with everything you need other than a Cat 5 cable, which connects the controller on the PID to the thermostat that allows you to make sure it operates properly.
Okay, so I guess on a basic level, how does the Zone 1 actually work?
So the concept of a Zone 1 is fairly simple. What we're looking at here is a damper with a duct sensor in the damper, factory mounted in the damper. That's what really makes this work. And the reason that it works so well is because we know what the temperature is in the duct. And so when the thermostat set point is made, let's say that set point is 72 degrees. And the room, the space is showing at 70 degrees. Mm-hmm. So that means that we're calling for heating. The thermostat then looks at that duct sensor and says, okay, if it's above 72 degrees, there's heating in the duct. And if it's below 72 degrees, there's cooling in the duct. And so then we will open the damper, or in the modulating version, modulate the damper open, to make sure that we get to that desired set point. On a 2 position, we're just going to open the damper or we're going to close the damper. It's 2 positions. With modulating, what we're going to do is we're going to modulate the damper open and closed on the deviation from set point. So, as an example, if in that same situation, it's 70 degrees in the space, set point is 72, and there is heating in the duct, we probably will not open the damper 100%. We'll open it to 40% because we're only 2 degrees away from set point. Mm-hmm. And we will slowly throttle that damper down to choke off that airflow so that we don't overshoot that 72 degrees. But the simple way to explain how this works is the duct sensor lets us do auto changeover. So every Zone 1 is heat and cool, and it allows us to make sure that we don't overshoot, that we don't deviate from set point too far, unless we're in a situation where, the entire building's calling for cooling and one zone's calling for heating. One of these is calling for heating. They just won't get cooling.
Right.
That's the way it works. Unfortunately, you could always put a duct heater in there, I guess, but the reality is simple, that this is not anything overly complicated, but it just works very, very well and comes as a package, so that all the contractor needs to do is be able to install a damper and a thermostat.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Mike and learned a bit more about the Zone 1 product. Thank you for listening, and we encourage you to join us for the remainder of our NEWSMakers series at achrnews.com or for free on iTunes. For more information, visit www.achrnews.com.